people ask me, what is Monster Madness? Take a wild guess. The Cinemassacre Truth has got its own Monster Madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, 'cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night. Did anybody tell Sly? You don't need a 10-incher made of tough 80s wood. Just an onion in your mouth that you can get to stay put. Oh, there it goes. We'll waddle down the mountain after failing to climb. And if our wives tell us that we've got enough time, we'll watch some old monster movies neath the drop ceiling light.
Oh, I'm aware.
We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Gooby, a Canadian atrocity unleashed upon mankind in 2009. Imagine a shitty family movie that turned out so bad that what was supposed to be the lovable main character seems like a disgusting, creepy freak. Before I get into this thing, just look at it. Does it look like it's from 2009? It looks like it's from the 90s, from the fashion to the camera used to film it, and these kids are playing Game Boys, with no cartridges inside them, by the way. I mean, the DS and PSP were huge at the time. I guess these kids are just dipshit hipsters and just love retro consoles way more than anything modern.
If you don't know that guy, you're nobody.
You know the budget for this thing was $6 million? Guess all the budget went to Gooby. Alright, sorry, I'm avoiding the Gooby in the room. So, this kid, unfortunately named Willie, is a weirdo with an overactive imagination and absentee workaholic parents. When he moves to a new town, his childhood toy, Gooby, comes to life and starts immediately making his life worse. This thing is a 6-foot-tall monster muppet with dead eyes and freaky human lips. Just fucking look at him! He's a big idiot asshole that spends most of the movie making a fucking mess everywhere he goes, eating and destroying food, complaining, and throwing wieners at Willie. Oh, and I should mention that this movie is almost 100 minutes long, when it could be an hour or less. The plot is almost non-existent. Once Gooby arrives, you're in Gooby's world and he does whatever the fuck he wants. Plot progression be damned. I mean, let me rattle off some bits that go nowhere. Willie's teacher becomes the Van Helsing, the Gooby's Dracula. Gooby builds a car for Willie. And how about the CGI monster of Willie's fucking imagination shows up for one fucking scene? There's no reason to structure this review in any coherent way, honestly. Gooby fucks around in a grocery store and the kid is green screened for 2 seconds. Gooby scares a bully in a wiener costume by turning into a demon and he pisses himself. Why? There's this pointless segment of Gooby fucking around at the dad's construction site. All that happens is Gooby gets caught on a crane and then the scene abruptly ends. Gooby says, "I like being your dad" to a child and a fucking love song starts playing. Come on, did they know? Did they know what they were fucking doing? Why am I so scared of Gooby? Stop touching those boys, Gooby!
It takes him less than 7 minutes to ask the boy if he wants
Gooby choose!
The decoy says, okay, cool, and a few hours later, he's walking into our living room. Dell from Perverted Justice, playing the male decoy, invites him in and scoots behind the door before he sees her.
We'll watch TV or something. I'll be right back out, all right?
All right. Why don't you make yourself at home here? Have a seat.
If you think things are weird now, don't worry, it gets weirder. So at the end of this snuff film, Gooby takes Willie to an abandoned apartment building in the middle of nowhere that Willie's dad allegedly grew up in. Willie slips or some shit and is hanging on for his life. Willie's dad shows up along with some cops that literally do not contribute to the rescue at all, and Willie's dad saves the dumb kid. When Willie's dad investigates his childhood lair, he encounters Gooby, and that furry freak starts talking about secret boy holes or something, and I started to get really uncomfortable.
This is your secret room, isn't it? Where you came as a little boy. How can you know that?
So at the very end of the movie, we learn that this is a movie about a dad reconnecting with his son. Also, Gooby's face splits open and he starts eating the dad.
I don't know what the hell's in there,
It's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
Wait, that didn't happen, but I wish it did. So that's the end, right? Nope. Gooby integrates with the family. The parents accept the Goob into their hearts until Gooby decides he must terrorize a new child, continuing the cycle of abuse.
I think you need to know.
This Criminal Evidence is a true crime thriller disguised as a shitty family film. It also sucks shit, but you should watch it anyway. Oh yeah, and it's on YouTube for free.
Gooby!
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre Truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
I wanted to watch a David Bowie film for horror season, but Labyrinth filled my head with Mike and my corpus cavernosum with adrenaline, so I went for the next best thing instead. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. This is based on a novel, which is like a film that exists only in words. What a strange idea, huh? Maybe I should watch a book sometime. It takes place during World War II, combining the horrors of war with the even worse situation of being a prisoner of war. The balls on the dick on top of that is the pure terror of Takeshi Kitano being the head of the guard in his very first movie role. Wow. It starts off with our main character Lawrence being dragged off to convene in a situation between two prisoners because he speaks more Japanese than you do. Now, because the slobs who set up my nerd cave could not figure out how to turn on subtitles, we have to make do with only English. But the situation really does look bad. Oh. If you find the Japanese film from the 1980s or earlier that doesn't even reference finger chopping or stomach slicing, you should buy yourself a goddamn lottery ticket. In comes composer Ryuichi Sakamoto, starring as Yunoi, the big boss of the prison camp. He is a serious business traditionalist with a hairline that I am deeply envious of. Jack, played by David Bowie, is introduced in this scene as a man on military trial. He has the cool prankster role in the film, horsing around and getting punished for it.
Your name is given as Jack Serious. Is that correct?
Why shouldn't it be?
What do you mean by that?
Jack is on their shit list for how much he likes to clown on his superiors.
That's a good one.
You can see that he is a real tough guy.
No, sir, I am not.
Takeshi is trying to find the truther in the camp, but Lawrence won't snitch. Neither will you, right? Lawrence gets himself tied up for not spilling the beans on who downvoted the latest Rex Viper song via a smuggled radio. Jack does what comes natural and follows him. Yunoi's servant sneaks in to practice his tracheotomy skills in the middle of the night. With expert Shatner Fu, Jack disarms and disawakens the attacker. Lawrence is rescued and they make their way, only to encounter Yunoi and his merry band.
I presume. Come for your carpet.
It's another moment of actual good filmography. This is as good as it gets. Like a moth to the flame, huh? That's number 4 during the course of the film. During a Shinto Buddhist funeral ritual with Takeshi as the prayer master, Lawrence learns that he and Jack will be executed as punishment for the radio. He acts like a Siberian Husky and Shiba Inu mix and drama queens himself into a cell. this time with a sentimental and regretful Jack on the other side.
The past, again and again.
Like an unskippable cutscene, it's a slow, painful, and unnecessarily long 10-minute flashback to Jack's past. Takeshi suffers a stroke and presents the good news that another prisoner admitted to smuggling in the radio. They've lined the prisoners up for corporate punishment, as Yunoi woke up on the wrong side of the bed. That's not enough, gotta get the sick and cripple standing to attention also. Captain Hicksley is about to get a height reduction as punishment for one of them passing away on the spot, when suddenly, Jack gets up, walks over without anybody stopping him, and kisses Yunoi on the cheeks, paralyzing him. He stirred the place up, made things happen. He was the chili in the pot. Now, he's just a plant. What a way to go. The book to film transfer missed out quite a few important details. I better take it in mind for when we filmatize a movie-making nerd. The war is over, and Lawrence meets with Takeshi, now a prisoner on death row himself. They talk and come to terms over what they both survived. The money shot is Takeshi wishing us Merry Christmas in a most psycho way, and the theme song comes on one final time. Oh God. This was a mess of important story hooks lost in adaptation, peculiar editing, and Takeshi Kitano at his most surreal. I don't know about you, but I'm going to sleep like a baby now that this is done. That means I will be shitting myself, screaming, and crying. More than I normally do. What a shitload of fine arts horror.
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Howling 3: The Marsupials is a 1987 horror movie about one of my favorite movie monsters, werewolves. I love werewolves. From the Wolfman to Teen Wolf, I love watching them and I'm good at talking about them using my words. Except the werewolves in this movie aren't wolves at all, because they're Australian, so they're Tasmanian tigers. The Tasmanian tiger was a large predatory marsupial that lived on the island of Tasmania until we fucking killed them all. The last one died in captivity in 1936. They were related to the Tasmanian devil and whatever the fuck these things are. This movie poses a question. What if some of them escaped extinction by taking the shape of the very species that was wiping them out? Just like the real people of Atlantis adapted to rising sea levels by turning into fish, and their ruins turned into ordinary rocks on the seafloor so those fuckheads at the British Museum couldn't have them. You might be asking, what happened in Howling 1 and 2? And the answer is, nothing that ever comes up again in any of the other movies. Like Halloween 3 and Troll 2, Howling 3 was when they said fuck it and just made it an anthology series. So you don't need to worry about it. If you're curious, Spoonie did a review of the Howling 2 Steerba Werewolf bitch. Yeah, I remember Spoonie. He hasn't made good content in over a decade. Unlike me. We meet Jerboa, a young woman living a pretty normal life in Australia when she decides to run away from her normal Australian dad.
I'll buy you a Sony Walkman if you behave yourself, Jerboa.
Just keep your filthy hands off me.
This priest picks her up and asks her why she's worrying her dad like that.
You should not run away from home.
I don't like home.
Why, child?
Because my stepfather tried to rape me and he's a werewolf.
That look on his fucking face, he has got no answer. Jerboa is fucking around in Sydney when she gets recruited out of nowhere by Donnie, an assistant director who wants her to play a werewolf in his horror movie. He's got a great eye for talent. Actually, before he recruits her, he has to chase her down and corner her. This is exactly how I found the actress to play the woman in the AVGN movie. It took a lot of tries before I found a woman who couldn't outrun my duck stomp. Daddy doesn't like that his little girls run away, so he sends some werewolves disguised as nuns to go get Jerboa back. They didn't have a Bible handy, so this one brings the Necronomicon for crocodiles instead. Want to read that fucking thing? It isn't the full moon that changes these werewolves, it's flashing lights. Like you'd see in the outback all the time, of course. And the only way you can stop it is sex? Maybe, but not really. I don't know. The nuns find the wrap party for the movie Jerboa is in, but it's a costume party, so nobody notices anything weird. That's what you get for being too on the nose with your party theming. Jerboa gets hit by a car and taken to the hospital where they discover that she has a fucking pouch. They call a bunch of army guys as well as this professor of fucking werewolf studies or something. Oh yeah, this whole time there's been a subplot about Americans trying to catch werewolves fleeing from the collapsing Soviet Union. Because who gives a shit if Soviet nuclear bombs go missing? Where the fuck are those werewolves? You can't kill a werewolf with a nuclear bomb. Silver isn't fissile material. There's a police and army perimeter all around the hospital, but the nuns are just like, fuck that. They kill everyone and take back Jerboa, and even their fucking wimples are spotless for the bus ride home. This must have been a super badass fight that we never got to see. But I get it, sometimes you don't have time to shoot things. The professor is questioning Donnie and has some very funny questions.
Donnie, did you have sex with her?
Yes.
Was it normal?
Give me a break!
You know, maybe that was the only time Donnie ever had sex, so he has no context for what is and isn't normal. I would definitely not know how that feels. Hey, and speaking of Troll 2, her hometown is called Flo, which is wolf spelled backwards. Next, the professor is watching a ballet rehearsal for some reason, and this one dancer never stops pirouetting even as she turns into a werewolf. Well, she's just captured now. There's one more cool fight we never got to see.
It's really strong. Took a lot of men to catch whatever it is.
So yeah, there really are werewolves escaping the Soviet Union, it turns out, and this one has been summoned by Outback Dad to be his new bride. Back home, Jerboa gives birth, and the little abomination crawls right into her pouch. Christ, I don't think the Screenwave guys will even let me show this. Hey, Big Ryan, can I show a marsupial human fetus crawling through a pube forest into a flesh pouch to suckle upon beast milk?
Bimmy, get the fuck back to work! That's my money you're wasting!
Okay, I'm sorry. The dancer, Olga, escapes and runs off to Flo to get to the wedding on time. Meanwhile, the Australian army is staging a huge raid on the town. Alright, finally we're gonna see a cool fight. What the fuck? I don't think I've ever seen a movie that makes cooler promises and delivers lamer results. Jerboa didn't get captured because she already ran off with Donnie and this other werewolf named Candy. Candy is played by Burnham, an Aboriginal activist guy best known for sailing to Dover a year after this movie was made, planting a flag in it, and conquering England. The declaration he wrote is pretty fucking funny. Too bad the conquest didn't stick and he couldn't save the English people from beans on toast and deadly inbreeding. The baby is growing real fucking fast. I think I can finally show it to you now. I don't wanna, but I'm gonna. I had to watch this fucking cursed Muppet, now it's your turn. The professor has the hots for Olga, so he eventually helps her and all the other werewolves escape from the science lab they had them locked up in. Everyone just wants to run off and hide and start a new life, except for Outback Daddy, who wants some revenge. He channels the primordial spirit of the Tasmanian tiger to transform himself into a giant fucking kaiju known as the Big One.
Help me change! Give me the strength! Help me change into the Big One!
I have been promised a cool fight. Now, how are they gonna fuck this up? I gotta admit, that was more than I was expecting. It was only 5 seconds, but it was the only cool 5 seconds of this movie. The last 15 minutes of this movie are fucking bizarre. The Australian army guy calls off the chase despite all the people who died at the hospital, because even though the professor may be in love with a werewolf, at least he's not in love with a gay werewolf.
I think he fell in love with the Russian werewolf.
Was it female?
Yes.
Well, thank Christ for that.
Gotta get our priorities straight. We get a lot of glamour shots of the werewolves just living their lives in the outback. Donnie and Jerboa eventually decide to go strike it out on their own. When the professor and Olga return to society, the professor learns that they made it to Hollywood.
They changed their identities and looks a long time ago, and they stay that way. My mother gets enough attention nowadays without revealing she's a marsupial human. She's now known as Loretta Carson.
The actress?
Yeah, and Dad's a big director, Sully Spellenberg.
Wait, Donnie was Steven Spielberg this whole time? Oh man, I gotta ask my close good friend Steven Spielberg if this movie was based on a true story. I have a feeling I know what he's gonna say. Jerboa wins an Oscar. I wish I could win an Oscar. But anyway, she forgets that they're probably gonna have cameras at an award show. I'm not sure how she made it up the red carpet without noticing this, but oh boy, what a goof. So like, does she kill everyone? Is Dame Edna dead? We will never know because that's how the movie ends. Final thoughts? You know, I think the people who made this movie didn't want to make a horror movie, or an action movie for that matter. I think they just had a lot of complicated thoughts about the Tasmanian tiger. Like, we killed that motherfucker. It's gone. And I guess it can be a comforting fantasy to imagine using super science or dark sorcery to make amends for what you've done, to rebuild those bridges you've burned, reconnect to those you did wrong to. Yeah.
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, 'cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Messiah of Evil has a little bit of everything. You want surreal visuals? It's there. You want gore? There's a little bit of that. How about bad 70s hairstyles? Plenty of that for sure. You want an albino guy eating mice in a truck? Yeah, there's that too. I'm getting ahead of myself though. The protagonist, a woman named Arletty, is looking for her father, who's an artist in some shithole California coastal town. The dad's house is a schizophrenic's nightmare, with paintings of people staring at you all over the walls, surrealist lighting at times, and, not to mention, way too many ugly curtains. In her search, Arletty runs into this snobby guy named Tom and his two girlfriends, or groupies, or whatever.
Girl, half child, and half wit.
Sit on it, sister.
Maybe they think he's some bootleg Beatles member, who knows. Honestly, I can't get over how smarmy Tom is. He's insufferable, but he does have that perfect aristocrat mullet thing going on. I can see why he's popular.
Wanna come?
Later.
Through the film, Arletty and Tom hear about this event called the Blood Moon, which makes the townsfolk act strange. When one of Tom's girls goes to a supermarket, we finally see how weird the locals get. Zombies? Not really. Cannibals? Yes, certainly. Maybe something a bit in between, because they tear that bitch apart. Now would be a good point to mention that the music is a bit subdued, but when the weird 70s electronic music comes on, I find it quite groovy. After girl number 2 gets eaten at a movie theater, Arletty's dad shows up to give a lore dump on the titular Messiah of Evil. Apparently 100 years ago, some demon cannibal guy showed up, said he'll start a religion, and walked into the ocean. I assume he turns people into those zombie cannibals, or maybe the land around the town does that to them. Regardless, Arletty's dad is turning into one of them and is trying to resist attacking her. She, in turn, cures him by setting him on fire. That counts, right? You know when your dad is going fucking nuts and screaming for you to help him, your first thought is to set him on fire, right? I should also bring up that whenever the Blood Moon people eat someone, they just crowd around the body and pick at it. You're not going to get any crazy special effects with bodies getting torn apart, so don't get your hopes up. Anyway, the film kind of peters out at the end. Tom and Arletty try to escape, fail, and they send out Arletty to spread the word about the coming Messiah of Evil, so she gets put into an insane asylum. Who knows, maybe she was always in the asylum and it's all of her imagination. Maybe she could have imagined someone getting ripped in half, or maybe Gooby could have saved her and... Okay, sorry, I'll stop. I know that not many of you read books, but maybe after reading my short hair film book Gnome Cave, you got into books and see why they're popular. Anyway, I bring it up because this whole film reminds me of a H.P. Lovecraft story, mostly Shadow over Innsmouth, but if you made this into a short story, it would fit in fine with Lovecraft's other works perfectly. As a movie though, there are some interesting parts, but there's plenty of spots that just drag on and on. So if you like Lovecraft-style thrillers, check the film out. It's not that bad.
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre Truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
In 2023, a remake of Trauma's cult classic Toxic Avenger was screened at the Fantastic Fest Film Festival, and for the longest time, it just couldn't seem to find anyone who'd want to release it in theaters on a larger scale. As some of you may remember, I'd actually reviewed the original Toxic Avenger in 2018, and even had my good friend Lloyd Kaufman come onto the AVGN show for one of the best nerd episodes. But now, in 2025, the new Toxic Avenger is finally out in theaters for everyone to see. So, is it good? Or maybe even better than the original? Well, as a curator, I wouldn't say it's better, but I do think it is still a pretty decent film. Now, I'm not really able to show too much footage, as this hasn't come out on any kind of streaming service yet, but I did ask Newt to do a little bit of illegal filming at his cinema, so we've also got that plagiarized film footage on hand. So anyways, on to the film itself. I'm going to try to not spoil too much, as this has come out still quite recently, so these will just be more so just my general thoughts. First off, the thing that really caught my attention was just how surprisingly well written the main character Winston was. They really give him quite a bit of depth before his transformation, and that first act doesn't really take up too much space in the film either. And that's not a bad thing at all. I thought the pacing was pretty good. The writing in general had a decent balance of action and comedy, while also sprinkling in a few more serious parts here and there, just like the original film. The whole vibe of this movie is really similar to stuff like RoboCop and other cheesy 80s action films, but I do wish that there was a little bit more practical stuff in here rather than CGI. A lot of the kills look cool, and the costume work is phenomenal, especially on Toxie himself. But yeah, I wish a lot of the effects were more practical, just to fit that throwback vibe the movie goes for.
One thing that I do miss from the original and do completely prefer than what we got in the remake is Toxie's relationship with Sarah, the blind girl. Their dynamic really added a lot to the original film and was just sweet to watch. I loved it. But guess what? In this film, she just doesn't exist at all. I mean, there is a little bit of an in-your-face Easter egg in the diner scene, which is a really cool callback to the original, by the way, but Toxie just doesn't have any kind of love interest at all. The wife he had before his transformation is just dead. Now, it's not like Toxie needs someone to be with, but again, all I'm saying is I miss Sarah. I thought she was a great part of Kaufman's original. Besides that, I can't really think of too many complaints. There actually is a new female sidekick, but she's just there to kick some ass in the final fight scene. And besides that, I thought she was kind of lame, and I know how to write a good female character. So, you know, I'm right on this, and I prefer Toxie's fucked up eye in the original costume rather than this new one. But I do like his mop weapon a lot more in comparison to the old one. It just looks so fucking cool to me. And the way it just melts whatever it goes through is awesome. What else? The main villains were mostly kind of just annoying for me too, but I did like this Danny DeVito's penguin-looking guy. But anyways, I'm just rambling now. What I'm trying to say is, go watch this movie. It's quite good, but a little bit flawed here and there. I doubt it'd be for everyone, but if you're watching Monster Madness, then you're probably into this kind of fucked up shit. So I think most of you would like it. If you're looking to watch a movie that's a little bit more so in line with the golden age action flicks of the 80s, go ahead and give this a shot. I doubt you'll be disappointed. And yes, Lloyd Kaufman does get a cameo.
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre truth has got its own monster. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Back in 2023, I talked about Meredith Monk's acid trip of a film, Turtle Dreams. You know, with the flailing and screaming. Yeah, good movie.
Additional funding provided by the Jerome Foundation, the National Endowment for the Arts.
Oh, it's endowed, all right. We're coming back to Monk with a short film she did a year prior to Turtle Dreams, simply called Paris. What's weird about it is there's a lot more production value in this thing, and some shots are genuinely nice to look at. It does still have that distinct Meredith Monk flavor to it, and though I enjoy it, I can see the intro being way too fucking annoying for any sane person. Jesus, we get it! So Meredith has a mustache the whole time, not sure why, but she does. And her performance partner, Ping Chong, mostly just dances and poses in the background while Monk does weird shit. Nothing new there. This first performance scene is simultaneously really fucking eerie and funny. We got Meredith shuffling around like she's possessed by a demon that needs to take a shit, and Ping is directing invisible traffic while speaking in tongues in the middle of a murder dungeon. Just look at this bitch go! After some humming around the shithole factory, there's another dance, and since they're not making otherworldly screams of the damned while doing it, I really don't mind. Ping is doing some classic Rex Viper stage moves there. Oh god, we're back to this shit again. What the fuck am I watching? I know this is performance art, but I just don't get it. It means something to someone, but I'm just here to laugh at the absurdity of it all. If you get anything out of Paris, then I'm glad I could show it to you.
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Who's ready for more werewolf movies? Howling 6 The Freaks is a 1991 direct-to-video horror classic. Yeah, after Howling 3 The Marsupials, they stopped releasing these movies in theaters and just embraced the schlock. This is definitely the kind of movie you rent because the cover looks cool. But the cover of this VHS tape actually spoils the whole fucking movie. I'll show you later. The cold open is this girl running through the woods at night carrying a teddy bear. Classic mistake. If you're running for your life, never carry anything with you that would be symbolic if it fell to the ground. Called it. Death by symbolism. It's a bitch. That's why I stopped carrying an onion around everywhere. A mysterious drifter named Ian rolls into a troubled little western town called Canton Bluff. A long drought has forced all the local farmers to move away and the town is bleeding out. I've never changed the way I do things due to changing economic conditions, but I can see why it's popular. Ian gets the stereotypical speech from the sheriff about how they don't cotton to strangers around these parts, even though Canton Bluff's whole problem is that more people are leaving than coming in. The local preacher bails Ian out by vouching for him and offering him room and board in exchange for helping him renovate his church. Yeah, that's what this town needs. Someone to moralize at them and then demand 10% of their money. Hey, preacher man, what's 10% of nothing? Nothing? Well, alright, pleasure doing business with you. In fact, here, have a 20% tip. They have a stereotypical working montage, then the stereotypical mysterious drifter takes notice of the stereotypical sweet innocent preacher's daughter. Could this movie be any more stock? They might as well have called it Boo, Werewolf Movie. The circus is coming to town. Harker, the smooth-talking British guy who runs it, is talking to a guy he wants to recruit for his freak show. Winston the Alligator Boy, a guy with a weird skin condition. Harker's got a pretty dramatic sales pitch for why Winston should take the job.
The world will look at you with awe. As long as you're with me, they'll never again call you freak.
You know, this argument might work better if the place of employment was anywhere other than a literal freak show. Like, next tax season, Winston's gonna have to write circus freak under his occupation. The preacher's daughter wants Ian to take her to the circus, and while he's kind of on the fence about it, he ends up doing it because, come on, what else is she here for? He wins her a piece of symbolism in a carnival game and then takes her to the freak show. The line for the freak show must be a mile long because Harker takes you through each exhibit personally. There's Mr. Toombs, a guy who cheats at cards using a secret third arm. There's an act you see every year on RuPaul's Drag Race. There's Winston the Alligator Boy. And then there's Bellamy. Bellamy is not played by Bill Bellamy, but by Antonio Fargas, best known as the guy who played Huggy Bear on Starsky and Hutch. Fuck yeah, this guy's awesome. But when the freak show guests saw signs for a 6-foot man-eating chicken, I don't think this is what they had in mind. That night, the preacher's daughter wants Ian to show her the ways of the secular flesh. But now's a really bad time for Ian cause it's his time of the month. That's right, he's a fucking werewolf. Somebody had to be. As he's going berserk and running out of the house, Harker's goons are already waiting to capture him and drag him back to a cage in the freak show. And the town turns out to be cool with this, because people in town have been going missing or found mauled to death, and yeah, who else would have done it? The only one who believes Ian is innocent is the preacher's daughter, because she's still holding out for a chance to hit that red rocket. Meanwhile, Harker's making Ian perform in the freak show, cause he knows a dark spell or something to make him transform on cue. Behind the scenes, Ian bonds with Winston the Alligator Boy and finally unpacks Harker's weird argument that the best place to avoid being called a freak is a freak show.
It's the only place I'm not a freak.
No, this is the only place where you are one.
The sheriff is still investigating the murders because what the fuck else is there to do in this town when he makes a sudden discovery? Hello. Yeah, of course, it was Harker who was killing all those people. Turns out Ian is descended from a clan of monster hunters who were tracking this guy down when he killed Ian's dad and fled across the pond for fresh victims who weren't onto his grift. Harker was a fucking vampire the whole time. His true form is cool, because he looks like Ivan Ooze, and Ivan Ooze is cool. The preacher's daughter makes her move and breaks Ian out of his cage, and now it's fucking on like Donkey Kong. So this time we actually do get a dope-ass fight. A werewolf versus a vampire. Now that's a good twist. The only problem is, if you rented this movie, you already knew the twist going in because it's on the front of the goddamn box. This movie actually got better in the digital era because it got it out of this fucking box and straight onto screens. Winston the alligator boy comes in to help by repeating the transformation spell and waggling his crystal so Ian can change. Harker takes Winston as a hostage and drains him when Ian won't back down. To save his life, Ian has to bite Winston. Ian stakes Harker to the ground and tears open the circus tent just as the light of dawn breaks through, burning that motherfucker to a cinder. In hindsight, it is kind of funny that Harker chose to start a circus in tents, held down with stakes. Ian has avenged his dad and cleared his name, that there's more important things to do now than get the girl and give her the red rocket. Winston needs him more. He's a werewolf now, maybe also a vampire, on top of being an alligator boy. Ian chooses friendship over tight evangelical sliz and walks off with Winston into the desert, where he can train him to manage his condition. So what do I think of this movie? It's an improvement over Howling 3, for sure. It knows what it wants to be, even if it's a little schlocky. The fights and makeup look good. I'm getting hung up on the themes, though. Howling 6 wants to portray freakiness as something that's largely self-imposed. You teach other people how to treat you. Dignity and shame both come from within. So, if you don't want to be seen as a freak, why would you ever think that the best place for you was at a freak show? Why would you ever choose to confine yourself to a small enclosure where you know people are just gonna point and laugh at you over and over again? Do you think you'll eventually get different results if you try the same thing again and again until you die? Yeah.
Bimmy married April. April married Bim. They were traveling together with the budget for a film. He spent it inefficiently, so let his story warn ya, cause he set it in New Mexico but shot in California. Location fees alone sent all his money down the pooper. And Mike and Kyle didn't come, so here's a guy named Cooper. He thought his movie might get major studios to scout him, but he failed like a camera drone flying down the mountain.
So you're getting old and bald, and every day it's worse. Type dragon tattoo into a Google image search. Print the first result and take it to a tattoo shop. Girls will get so wet you'll have to clean up with a mop.
Unlike making a movie, there's no concern for budget, words are free. There's no location hunting, no effects, you don't have to think about logistics, solve a whole bunch of problems. You don't have to explain what you want from people.
Some will write a novel during midlife crisis crashes. Some will say an AI did it cause it's got M-dashes. Some won't even notice if your writing is astounding, but Sly will be aware when you are coming down the mountain.
So you're haunted by the things you never got to be. Start a boomer rock band to indulge your vanity. Stomp around just like a duck, though people think it's strange. Hire a lead vocalist who's way out of his range.
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre Truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
All right, folks and gals, strap in, because today on Monster Madness, we're diving headfirst into a blood-soaked, neon-lit fever dream of a movie called Psycho Goreman from 2020, a film that feels like a mix of Power Rangers and the Toxic Avenger with a smattering of E.T., creating a unique experience that plays on the kid and his dog tropes. This Canadian horror comedy is a love letter to rubber suit monsters, practical gore, and the kind of absurdity that only the 80s and early 90s could deliver. So here's the setup. Two siblings, Mimi and Luke, are digging a big hole in their backyard when they happen to dig up a glowing gem buried down below. Turns out this gem controls an ancient alien warlord known as the Archduke of Nightmares, who was imprisoned on Earth after trying to destroy the galaxy, thanks to the gem that grants him powers when in his control. This awakens the monster, but with the gem now in the hands of Mimi, he is forced to do her bidding. Mimi also decides to give him a proper name, Psycho Goreman, or PG for short. Meanwhile, the Templars, who are a bunch of space fascists who imprisoned PG, find out he's loose and send a bunch of other rubber-suited freaks to finish the job. What follows next is a barrage of creature fights, exploding heads, and surprisingly heartfelt moments. Yeah, somehow Psycho Goreman manages to squeeze in themes of friendship, family, and forgiveness between scenes of intergalactic carnage. It gets you right in the feels at some moments. PG is a walking death machine who looks like a villain from Power Rangers. There is some great juxtaposition when he is spewing threats like,
"I will bathe in your blood.
Don't worry.
Be worried."
While at the same time being forced to play dress-up and watch TV. And he also goes on a journey of self-discovery.
How can your short lifespans allow such narcissism?
Yeah, but look at all the hunky boys.
I do not care for hunky boys. Or do I?
The tone is pure whiplash, but in a fun way. It's a great satire on the boy and his dog-type stories such as E.T., but if E.T. was a murder-death god from hell. The director Steve Kostansky is a part of the Astron 6 collective that brought you such films like Manborg, The Void, and the newest film, Frankie Frico. In this film, he brings his A-game with the creature design, and overall practical effects work. You can tell a lot of passion was put behind this, especially for its budget. Every alien looks like it crawled out of a forgotten toy line from the 80s. You've got cyborg priests, brain monsters, and a council of galactic weirdos. Look, this is fun. And the gore? It's fucking glorious. Heads explode, limbs fly, and blood sprays like it's being pumped from a fire hose. It's all practical, all messy, and all beautiful. If you're a fan of trauma movies and Mr. Lloyd Kaufman, then you will probably love this. But now let's talk about who was the real monster of the movie. Mimi, the pint-sized tyrant who controls PG. She's loud, obnoxious, and borderline sociopathic, and she steals the show. Some viewers might find her grating, but honestly, she's the perfect foil to PG's stoic brutality. It definitely reminds me of the Universal monster movie Frankenstein. It is one of my favorites. Oh, and did you know Frankenstein is the name of the doctor and not the humor is juvenile, self-aware, and unapologetically dumb. It mocks genre tropes while also embracing them. So for my final thoughts, I'd say Psycho Goreman isn't for everyone. It's loud, messy, and proudly stupid. But that's also what makes it perfect. It's a cult classic in the making, and it knows exactly what it is, a monster mash of gore, giggles, and galactic nonsense. It definitely will not be for everyone's taste, but if you love weird and offbeat humor, then check it out. So, yeah, I guess I recommend the movie. It's a class 6. Go watch it right now. You got nothing else to do. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it. Oh, I am very aware.
You know, people ask me, what is Monster Madness? Take a wild guess. The Cinemassacre Truth has got its own Monster Madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, 'cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night. Did anybody tell Sly? You don't need a 10-incher made of tough 80s wood. Just an onion in your mouth that you can get to stay put. Oh, there it goes. We'll waddle down the mountain after failing to climb. And if our wives tell us that we've got enough time, we'll watch some old monster movies neath the drop ceiling light.
Oh, I'm aware.
We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Hi, James Rolfe here, the angry video game nerd. I know there's been some controversy in the past, but I just want to say right up front, this video is not plagiarized. We wrote it all ourselves. I mean myself, actually. It's basically all me. No AI whatsoever, not in the writing, not in the voice. That's not the Cinemassacre way, so don't worry about going to Wikipedia to check or anything like that. Rest assured, here at Cinemassacre we do things right. And with that, let's get on to the review. Night of the Living Dead was released in 1968, directed by horror legend and one of my personal heroes, George Romero. You might know him as the old man with the big glasses, but he was actually a lot younger in 1968. Anyways, Night of the Living Dead is the crown jewel of his career. It inspired countless movies that came after it in a very inspirational way. Having gained experience creating television commercials, industrial films, and Mr. Rogers' neighborhood segments through their production company, The Latent Image, George and his friends Russo and Striner decided to make a horror film to capitalize on interest in the genre. Their script primarily drew inspiration from Richard Matheson's 1954 novel I Am Legend. Also, a pretty cool film with Charlton Heston, I'd say one of his best. Principal photography took place between July 1967 and January 1968, mainly on location in Evans City, Pennsylvania, with Romero using guerrilla filmmaking techniques he had honed in his commercial and industrial work to complete the film on a budget of approximately $100,000. Unable to procure a proper set, the crew rented a condemned farmhouse to destroy during the course of filming. That's what I relate to the most, the guerrilla filmmaking. I always loved to make my own films. It was a big hobby of mine, and seeing this guy, who didn't have any money like me as a kid, was a real inspiration. I even went to the graveyard and looked at a bunch of cool spots from the opening scene. I learned a lot of tricks making those old films, probably just like George Romero did. He walked so I could run. If I grew up when he did, I would have gone his route, but alas, the nerd had other ideas. The plot starts off when plot duration: 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 53 seconds. 1:35:53 subtitles available. CC Night of the Living Dead open parentheses, full film close parentheses. Siblings Barbara and Johnny drive to a cemetery in rural Underline, Pennsylvania to visit their father's grave, where a pale man in a tattered suit kills Johnny and attacks Barbara. She flees to a nearby farmhouse, but finds the resident's corpse lying half-eaten on the stairs. A growing horde of ghouls soon surround the house as a stranger, Ben, arrives and initially mistakes Barbara for the homeowner. After driving back several ghouls, he boards the windows and doors. While searching the home for supplies, he locates a underline lever-action rifle. The lever-action rifle is not to be confused with underline Marlin Model 1894. It's referring to the Winchester Model 1894 rifle, open parentheses, also known as the Winchester 94 or Model 94. Close parentheses is a lever-action repeating rifle that became one of the most famous and popular hunting rifles of all time. It was designed by John Browning in 1894 and originally chambered in either the 32-40 Winchester or the 38-55 Winchester. When I was a kid, I never shot a gun at anyone, but the premise of the movie was fascinating. Imagine your whole neighborhood turned into dark, twisted versions of themselves, and you had to shoot them with some gun. It's kind of crazy there were no zombie films before this. You can tell Romero's a smart guy, as his films prove furtherly. The cast is special. The low-budget film included no well-known actors, open brackets, 10 close brackets, but propelled the careers of some cast members. Open brackets, 11 close brackets, 2 independent film companies from Pittsburgh - Hardman Associates, and director George A. Romero's The Latent Image combined to form Image 10, a production company chartered only to create Night of the Living Dead.
open brackets, 12 close brackets. The cast consisted of members of Image 10, actors previously cast for their commercials, acquaintances of Romero, and Pittsburgh stage actors. Open brackets, 13 close brackets. When I made films as a kid, I didn't have any money to pay people. They didn't pay kids to break bus windows, so I got my friends from the neighborhood to act. They weren't the best actors of all time or anything, but I think that made them more real. I wasn't going for realness. I always considered acting to be more emotional than logical. And that's what you get from the actors in this movie. They just feel real. Yep. https://en.wiki.org/wiki/talk:/night_of_the_living_dead. Peter G. Werner. If it is not undue, then could you cite a source to show that? And for Hardman's sound work as well, Raji Talk 0312, 25th March 2025 UTC. How does one simply find a reference saying that mention of one character is or is not undue weight? www.hotbabes.com. Hey big boy, what are you up to? I'm all alone. Winky face.
This variety is made especially for asses. Stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night. Stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre Truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, 'cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
You've probably heard about it. It was the mid-2000s, and a young indie director launched a crowdfunding campaign to make his dream movie, a film full of 80s references and lovable movie tropes. I know what you're thinking, but I am not talking about AVGN the movie. In fact, I never talk about it. The movie I'm talking about is Kung Fury. Let me tell you, I've seen this movie, and I found it very familiar. The movie starts with a bang, an amazing action scene of Kung Fury battling a robot. Sadly, it appears that my PS3 has some trouble playing this section because the image glitches and jumps all over the place. Thankfully, the rest of the movie plays fine. Anyway, after that great scene, we are introduced to the origin of Kung Fury, an invincible vigilante who appears in a dark alley.
Oh shit, it's Rex Viper!
After that, we jump directly to the plot with Adolf fucking Hitler. What the fuck? He's not from the 80s. What's going on? Oh wait, my bad. He is the Kung Fuhrer. What a stupid name. I would have called him Adolf Hitter. Yeah. Just when Kung Fury is introduced to his new partner, Triceracop, Hitler attacks the police station using the fucking phone. Kung Fury is angry and wants revenge. Thankfully for him, Hacker Man is at the station, a man with the knowledge and a PC computer to help Kung Fury go back in time and stop Hitler. But something goes wrong, and Kung Fury is sent back to the Viking Age instead of World War II. Once again, Destiny sends help in the form of a Viking girl who rides a dinosaur. I have to say, this was a missed opportunity to use a dragon instead of a dinosaur. Come on! Viking legends were full of them. And not only that, but the movie starts glitching again. The girl asks Thor, the god of thunder, to help Kung Fury get to World War II, and Thor complies because he's a great dude.
Thanks, bro.
The Kung Fuhrer is giving a speech at Too Many Games.
Today I'm playing one of the most racist video games of all time.
Then Kung Fury enters and starts kicking everybody's ass. He's fucking unstoppable. But then the Kung Fuhrer goes full Indiana Jones, and instead of fighting hand to hand, he uses a gun, mortally wounding Kung Fury. Just when all seems lost, Thor, the Viking girl, Hacker Man, and Triceracop come to the rescue and stall the Kung Fuhrer and his men. Meanwhile, Kung Fury is at the gates of the afterlife, and a serpent demon or some shit like that tells him that he has died. But Kung Fury says no, he was in the middle of a police arrest, and not even the afterlife can interfere with the law. And just like that, and with the help of Hacker Man, he comes back to life as if it's nothing. Surrounded, the Kung Fuhrer tries to negotiate, but Kung Fury punches the garbage out of his balls. Fuck yeah! Thor uses his hammer to finish him off. The giant robotic eagle that was protecting the Kung Fuhrer flies in to protect him. But it's too late. They are gone. Kung Fury and the gang celebrate, not only for defeating the Kung Fuhrer and his men, but because Kung Fury learned to open himself up to those he now calls his friends. Back in Miami, Kung Fury has to fight another robot, and of course, he defeats it with little effort, only to find a terrible clue that the nightmare isn't truly over. And that's the end. I have to say, I loved the effort they put into the movie, despite their clear shortcomings. After all, the director only made 5 movies. 5 of them! But even when you can see the amateurish nature of Kung Fury, I can't help but compare it to my movie. Both of them promise a fun adventure of action and nostalgia. They have a cool protagonist who is loved by the girls. There is also an out-of-place sidekick, a girl who is only there to help him because he's the protagonist. The quest to find something from the past, the invincible monster with wings, and the militaristic antagonist, and so on. But hey, what can I say? Great minds think alike. In conclusion, if you liked the AVGN movie, then you will love Kung Fury.
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Today I'm going to be looking at an obscure horror short film called The Night Prowler, directed by none other than myself, James Duncan Rolfe. Now, why am I reviewing one of my own movies? Well, other than having a perfect opportunity to stroke my ego, it also means I don't have to bother watching as many movies for this year's Monster Madness. It's a good thing I have made over 500 of them to choose from, don't you think? Anyway, I made The Night Prowler back in 2002 for a class assignment in film studies with a minimum requirement of 2 minutes. It's loosely based upon The Imp of the Perverse by Edgar Allan Poe, which was quite similar to Poe's more famous story, The Telltale Heart, in that it revolves around an unnamed narrator who kills somebody and eventually confesses despite nobody suspecting them. The movie starts off with a shot of the night sky before slowly descending upon the streets of Philadelphia, where we get our first look at the titular prowler, an ominous man dressed in black. Those who are familiar with my work may recall seeing another figure in black from The Head incident and its sequel, The Head Returns. For years, I've been interested in making a film based upon the man in the neighborhood watch sign. I always had a morbid curiosity about who he could be and why his presence would justify the paranoia around him. Perhaps this man was a sexual predator who would flash his 10-incher, or maybe, like in this instance, he was a psychopathic killer, hell-bent on stabbing the garbage out of people. Admittedly, there is not much of a plot. My main goal was to capture the unnerving feeling of walking alone in the city during nighttime. I accomplished this by having the Prowler wander around various areas in such a way that it suggests he's everywhere all at once, playing upon our instinctual fear of evil lurking wherever darkness resides. Watching it now, however, I can't help but think that his aimless walking reminds me of Waldo from that fucking NES game. Throughout the short, we hear the Prowler vaguely reminisce about a murder he had committed.
The coroner's verdict was death by visitation of God. The idea of detection never once entered my mind.
I provided the voiceover and used excerpts from The Imp to form the Prowler's inner dialogue. Much like the narrator in the original story, the Prowler explains that he had no real reason other than to do it for the sake of it being wrong. It's a very chilling motive for one to have, and even more so in this case as the short ends without the Prowler getting caught, leaving him free to potentially claim more victims. The narration, combined with the eerie blue-tinted visuals, gives the Night Prowler a much more psychological bent than my other movies, and for once, it doesn't involve killer inanimate objects coming to life. The main purpose of our class assignment was to film the entire thing in one long, fluent take. However, I had some prior experience with shooting long takes from my earlier movie, Kill for Thrill, which was sort of a cross between Alfred Hitchcock's Rope and the previously mentioned Telltale Heart. Simply put, it was a pain in the ass to shoot, and the end result was a little rough. That's why this time I took the opposite approach and constantly cheated by cutting every time I spun the camera around. I wanted to see how many times I could get away with it. The professor was so amazed by my brilliant ingenuity, he gave me an A on the project. Now, I know there's inevitably going to be some asshole-ish complaints out there. They will probably say that I should have failed the assignment for deliberately breaking the long take a total of 18 times. However, I consider myself exempt from such criticism because I was taking a page straight out of Hitchcock's book. You see, Rope actually made use of cuts, as the camera would run out of film every 10 minutes and Hitchcock would try to cover it up. Since the master of suspense was applauded for it, that means I should be too. Besides, none of my critics appreciated my other cinematic masterpiece, AVGN The Immortal, which had an uninterrupted 11-minute long take showing off my dramatic acting.
Curse you, foul, abhorrent beast!
There's simply no pleasing those uneducated hecklers. In contrast, I graduated from the prestigious University of the Arts, one of the finest institutions that the creative minds of Philadelphia can go to, and oh yeah, that's right. Okay, let's just move on from here. It may be hard to believe, but The Night Prowler is probably one of the most effective encapsulations of myself I've made as a filmmaker. It combines many of my interests such as Alfred Hitchcock, Edgar Allan Poe, slasher villains, and even my love for heavy metal music. The title, for instance, is taken directly from AC/DC's Night Prowler, while Black Sabbath's E5150 served as the music for the short. In addition, E5150 spells out evil in Roman numerals, which not only made the track an awesome way to set the mood, but also a fitting companion to the themes of both the Imp and Night Prowler. To repeat myself somewhat, I'm a big fan of Poe-related media, especially the series of film adaptations by Roger Corman. In last year's Monster Madness, I mentioned how Corman was fascinated with psychology and made his Poe films under a Freudian lens. However, he never touched upon the Imp of the Perverse, which is kinda odd because it's perhaps the most psychoanalytical out of all Poe's writing. The main theme of the Imp of the Perverse is that we all have a desire, or an imp so to speak, that compels us to do things precisely because we shouldn't do them. It has been said that Edgar Allan Poe wrote the Imp as a way to explain, or less charitably, excuse his consistent streak of self-destructive behavior. From his struggles with alcohol to habitually making enemies, Poe's life was littered with many questionable acts that heavily contributed to his well-known financial problems. If I may get vulnerable for a moment, I very much relate to this concept, as I've long experienced this feeling as well. A sensation that some being has been resting upon my shoulder, like some diabolical glitch gremlin, nurturing my worst habits while it gets to sit back and watch my misery unfold. I look back at my life and think about all the things it could have been, but every step of the way, he convinced me to sabotage myself. You may know this being as Bames or perhaps Bimmy, however, I simply refer to him as the Bimp.
You sure become Bimmy Raw.
Time to find local actors and...
No, James. Film the AVGN movie in California.
Gotta get out of my head.
You have no time, James. You have no time. You have no time, James. You have no time.
Oh, I gotta get out of my head.
You have no time,
I gotta get
James.
out of my head.
You have no time. Embrace me. James, start a Culver Bend. Be your friends with Exposure Jimmy Boy. They should just be grateful to know you. Sell out to Screenway. Become a shill for sponsors. No more camera angles.
I give in to a craving that gathers strength as the moments fly. I am one of the many uncounted victims of the imp, of the perverse.
You have no time, James. You have no time.
Stop!
It's 5:40.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre truth has got its own monster madness.
It's just a ball of dust underneath my feet. It falls around.
Do you like Spawn? Do you like violence, demons, and comic book action mixed with a sex pervert film? Well, you'll love Faust, Love of the Damned. I would call this a clone of Spawn, since it's a story about a guy selling his soul to evil and becoming a demonic anti-hero. But the comic that the film is based on predates Spawn by a few years. That's beside the point, though. We're talking about the movie. Who has time to read nowadays? Also, my book, My Gnomes and My Dreams, is out now. Give it a read in the dark with your eyes closed. Directed by Brian Usna, the weird fucker that directed Society and Reanimator, Faust follows the story of a tortured artist named John Jaspers, who becomes the bloodthirsty Faust after making a deal with a demon guy named M. By the way, they never call John Faust in the movie. It's just on his grave when he's being buried alive. But fuck it, Faust is too fun to say, so that's what I'm calling him. The film begins with cop Jeffrey Combs busting into Tom Savini's leftovers and getting jumped by Faust, the bootleg Wolverine. After saying some cryptic shit, he goes catatonic, and we spend a rather lengthy time with a doctor named Jade who's trying to coax him into reality again. Eventually, we get a 10-minute flashback showing Faust's girlfriend getting murdered, Faust selling his soul to M, and him getting revenge on the thugs.
What's the matter? Don't like my art?
Also, a brief awkward sex scene between Faust and M's wife. There's a lot of awkward sex scenes, and they're all very European with how tasteful they are, so I can't show them here. Honestly, that's my biggest problem with the film. When Faust is jumping around stabbing the shit out of people and saying stupid one-liners with the butt rock playing in the background, it's fucking awesome. But that only happens a few times, and in between those scenes are various interludes of awkward sex or uncomfortable sexual assault. And like the butt rock accompanying Faust's murder sprees, the sexual assault also has a theme song. I call it Sexual Assault Soul Singing, so when you hear the humming, prepare yourself. I'm not saying that fucked up themes shouldn't be in movies, but Faust handles its more disturbing elements pretty poorly. It probably could have been written in a more effective way. Either make the movie even darker and more like a horror thriller film, or go all in on the Rob Zombie Dragula music video level of cheese and ridiculousness. Also, while most of the gore and special effects are relatively tame, there is that one scene where M melts his wife into a tit puddle, and that's when I knew this was a Brian Usna film.
No.
Going back to our protagonist, when John is Faust and overacts while murdering secret Satanists, he's a fucking blast to watch.
Take this message to your master.
But when John is John, he's this schlubby guy that is constantly making this weird fucking grimacing face and talks like he has problems. And by that, I mean it sounds like he's doing a bad Nick Cage impression. Out of all the characters, Jeffrey Combs seems like the best candidate for our main protagonist, since he's trying to save lives, investigate the Satanist cult, and save Jade from said cultists. But no, even though Faust disappears from the movie for a while, he is, unfortunately, the protagonist. Faust and Combs should have had a sort of Batman and Commissioner Gordon type of relationship. But whatever, this movie is too busy filming freaks dry humping each other for something cool like that. M eventually mind controls Combs, or something, I don't know, and he willingly sacrifices himself to summon Mud Dragon Demon in Mud Dreams after covering himself in mud and eating a fucking giant snake that came out of M's wife who was crucified to a tree. Did I mention this movie is fucking crazy, by the way? Also, before getting crucified, M's wife blew M's head smooth off and turned Jade into a weird sex pervert in 5 minutes flat. As it turns out, Jade is actually M's daughter, and since she got turned into a sex pervert, she and M fuck on an altar, and by the power of being cucked, Faust loses his will to live and M orders Jade to kill him. She snaps out of her pervert trance and through one of the most absurd film twists that I will not spoil for you, outsmarts M, and with his last ounce of strength, Faust stabs M. The film ends with literally every character we've seen except Jade dead, she's crying, I'm fucking crying, and we smash cut to credits and the Faust butt rock. Yeah!
When Daddy raped you, you loved it.
What the fuck?
The only love you ever
If a film doesn't leave you traumatized and wanting to take a shower by the end, is it really quality cinema?
Where is he now?
He's in good hands, I assure you.
Hey, I'm Justin.
Oh, I am very aware.
You know, people ask me, what is Monster Madness? Take a wild guess. The Cinemassacre Truth has got its own Monster Madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night. Did anybody tell Sly? You don't need a 10-incher made of tough 80s wood. Just an onion in your mouth that you can get to stay put. Oh, there it goes. We'll waddle down the mountain after failing to climb. And if our wives tell us that we've got enough time, we'll watch some old monster movies neath the drop ceiling light.
Oh, I'm aware.
We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Stabbing the garbage out of
Hi, I'm Justin.
Saturday
Stabbing
night.
the garbage out of Saturday night.
Mulholland Drive is a surreal psychological horror film from David Lynch. It's from 2001, which immediately makes you think of 9/11. I wanted to talk about this film in particular because it's about something I know about intimately, making films in Hollywood, the only place where you can make real films. When I made my masterpiece, the AVGN movie, I learned that Hollywood is kind of a scary place, full of dark forces you can't even understand, and that's what this film is all about. That's a good sign, because to hold my interest, a film needs to directly relate to me on the most obvious possible level. I didn't like Citizen Kane because it was about newspapers. This is a movie about movies. That's different. I make movies. Well, not anymore, but I watch movies. Well, not anymore. Anyway, the cold open is a bunch of peachy keen youths who seem to be having a lot of fun dancing the jitterbug. I've never gone dancing, but I can see why it's popular. From what I know of horror filmmaking, I expect every one of these kids to be chased down by inanimate objects and killed before the end of the movie. This blonde lady is in a spotlight with these two old people. Later we'll learn that this is because she won the jitterbug contest. Her partner that she was dancing with isn't even seen, though. I get it. Sometimes you have to let go of partners due to creative differences, like if they imagine themselves getting paid for their work but you just don't see that in your creative vision. There's a dark-haired lady being driven up Mulholland Drive. Hey, that's the name of the film. The guys that she's with pull her over and are about to drag her out of the car and shoot her when they all get hit by some joyriding kids. I hope those kids had an authentic, unapologetic filmmaker with them to document all their fun times, while definitely not participating in them himself. The lady stumbles out of the car and heads straight off the road, right down the side of the canyon facing Hollywood. Hey, she's not wearing the right kind of shoes for that. She's gonna fall. I'm horrified already. We cut to these two guys talking in a diner about a horrible nightmare one of them has had, that was set right here in this diner. This is where the movie really kicks the frights into high gear, because, for real, this whole scene leads up to what might be the best jump scare ever in a movie. Near perfection. I say near because I believe I could have done it a little better. And so, like that cut of Kill Bill I made that corrects the problem of the scenes all being out of order, I made my own cut of this scene that makes it even scarier. For one, they don't spend the whole scene talking about the nightmare this guy had and exactly what happened in it. That's spoiling the scare. What's even the point of that? It's like David Lynch believes that there's this whole other kind of fear that comes from knowing what's gonna happen instead of being startled.
I like diners. I like breakfast. But the thing of maple syrup that they give you for your pancakes, it's always stuck. I can't get it open. I don't know how to get it open.
It's full of syrup.
Yeah.
Next thing, I always felt that the big payoff could have been better. Like, yeah, it's kind of scary, but not in a way that really resonates with my particular twisted genius. So here's my version.
That's right, I'm Mr. Bucket. I'm Mr. Bucket. Toss your balls in my top, I'm Mr. Bucket. Out of my mouth I will pop, I'm Mr. Bucket. Walk in a run, I'm Mr. Bucket.
The game's Mr. Bucket. The first to get their balls into Mr. Bucket wins, but look out, because the balls will pop out of his mouth.
I'm Mr. Bucket. The balls pop out of my mouth.
The blonde girl, whose name turns out to be Betty, comes from Canada, where she was inspired by winning that dance contest to try her luck as an actress in Hollywood. That makes sense. They definitely don't make films in Canada. There definitely aren't any cities in Canada that are famous for being affordable places to shoot films and television. You can only make a film in Hollywood. I relate to Betty already. Betty's staying in her aunt's apartment while her aunt is shooting the movie in Canada, which is unrealistic, but when she gets there, she sees that someone left their clothes on the floor and is in her shower. It's a scary violation of space, but it also reminds you of classic fairy tales like Goldilocks and the Three Bears monster. Yeah, it's the other lady who calls herself Rita and doesn't remember a thing. You probably don't know, but that's a real thing in Hollywood. When I was making the AVGN movie, sometimes I would just completely dissociate and just be lost in a void, staring at nothing. Then people would ask me things about what was going on and what they were supposed to do, and it would be really annoying. Our next big point of view character is Adam, who's a film director, just like me, so his story really resonates with me on a personal level. Adam has to recast the female lead in a movie he's making. I guess the first girl started asking for money, and these boardroom guys tell him who the next girl is gonna be, this lady named Camilla Rhodes. That's nice of them. I wish I had guys like these when I was casting the woman in my movie. Adam has some kind of problem with it, though. Maybe he's scared of new people. You know, this scene in the boardroom with the espresso reminds me of this one time Matei and I were up late shooting a nerd episode. We were really hungry, but the McDonald's was closed, so I had to give Matei some food that was just in my house already, that I had bought from a grocery store. This was pretty much his exact reaction. Ah, nothing but good memories. So then we meet these two hitmen, and we find out that the car accident Rita was in was an intentional hit all along, even though she was about to get taken out and shot. So a hit got interrupted by another hit. You got assassins hiring other assassins and then assassinating them, like in Star Wars Episode 2. Whoop, there's another one. So he's planting the gun on the other hitman to make it look like a suicide and... Whoopsie doodles.
Hey, man.
Oh shit, we're not done. Jesus Christ. This reminds me of when I'm trying to work with wood. Too bad that wall wasn't made of tough 80s wood like my childhood desk. That would have stopped a bullet for sure. Now Betty learns that Rita is not her aunt's friend and is just some rando who snuck into the apartment. That's not even Rita's name, it turns out. It's just a cool name she made up, like Rex Viper. When Betty looks in Rita's purse for some kind of ID, all she finds is a huge pile of money. And a blue key. Now, I learned in film school that this is a literary device known as Chekhov's monster. You don't just introduce a weird prop like this key for no reason. You've got to use it later. So later on, this key is definitely going to come to life and start killing everyone. Adam finds out that the mob just completely shut down his movie and froze all his assets. Someone really didn't like that he didn't want to cast this girl. He has a pretty normal everyday interaction with his wife, but then he finds out that the only way to get his movie back up and running is to talk to this guy called the Cowboy. You think it's gonna be really scary because lots of bad shit has been happening to Adam, but it turns out that the Cowboy is super nice. He explains how things are gonna be in real simple terms that I could understand. It just goes to show that even though making movies can be a stressful process, sometimes you get lucky and somebody nice comes in to help. Also, this means that Mulholland Drive is a Christmas movie, because a powerful man in a funny costume knows if you've been bad or good.
Now you will see me one more time if you do good. You'll see me 2 more times if you do bad. Good night.
Betty gets her first audition. She reads the part in an office with this totally normal-looking, age-appropriate guy who could totally still play a 20-something nerd in a basement, and everyone seems to think she did a really great job. Her next audition is for Adam's movie. Everybody is auditioning on set in full costume like normal, and Betty and Adam even make eye contact. That's cute. She's definitely gonna get the part, right?
Bring her in. Camila Rhodes next.
Oh yeah, the whole cowboy thing. I actually forgot about that. It's easy to forget what you were doing in Hollywood. And I guess Betty also forgot what she was doing because suddenly she runs off and goes back to help Rita solve the mystery of who she is. They look up a name she remembers in the phone book, Diane Selwyn, and they find... Oh yeah, this is gonna get good. That corpse is gonna get up and chase them like in the rotten corpse of Snicks, right? Come on, what is this, amateur hour? I could make such a better movie than this. Rita is super freaked out that someone who might have been her friend is dead and she could be next, so she starts wearing a blonde wig. And then she, I'll admit this is frightening me, but not in the way I like. I don't like this at all. Come on, bring on the gore and murder. Please? Rita remembers something else in the middle of the night, and she asks Betty to take her out to this place called Club Silencio right away, even though it's 2 in the morning. Guess we're finally gonna get some answers. The guy explains that the gimmick of Club Silencio is they don't have a band and everything is pre-recorded. That's kind of boring though, so enjoy my cut of this scene.
No hay tiempo. There is no time. Whatever you may wish of me, it cannot be. No hay tiempo. And yet, I make the time. When I want to spend days drilling into a desk with the wrong kind of bit, I do. When I want to migrate the contents of a giant hard drive when the problem was the cable the whole time, it is so. A convention here, a side project there, a trip across the country to climb una montaña. And when I want to start a cringy gamer band nobody asked for, you hear the words, they are familiar, unobjectionable, no hay tiempo. And yet, it is an illusion. It is all a cope.
Then a lady comes on and sings a really sad song in Spanish or something, but then she collapses, but her voice keeps singing. Now, I learned in film school that this is called a continuity error and you're not supposed to do it. I guess David Lynch did a little goof. That's okay, we can't all be perfect, except me. As they're watching the show, Betty just pulls this blue box out of her purse. I guess it just appeared out of nowhere. Guess that's what the key goes to. Once they get back, Rita really wants to know what's in this fucking box, so she uses the key and we just kind of get sucked into it. That's a good twist, actually. All this time I thought the key was gonna kill us, but it was the box. After that, the 2 lead actors seem to start playing different characters. Betty's actor is now playing Diane Selwyn, that corpse that they found earlier. and Rita's actor is playing Camilla Rhodes, the new female lead in Adam's movie. That's another amateur mistake, forgetting who you cast as who. I think it's also a continuity error because this can't be a flashback. The day Camilla was cast in this part, Diane was already dead. And yet here Diane is, still alive, and she's an extra in that same movie. I guess I should go easy on David Lynch. Not everybody can be as good at movie making as me. Diane has a lot of similarities to Betty. She still came to Hollywood after winning a dance contest. She's sleeping with Camilla just like Betty slept with Rita, and she has her own blue key. Unlike Betty, Diane has been in Hollywood for a long time and is frustrated that even after paying her dues, she can't catch a break. Her lover stole the part she wanted and is now even getting sweet on Adam. So the cowboy turns out to be a matchmaker too. Well, what a great guy. Diane's life is in the fucking shitter though. And Camilla won't let Diane heal by just breaking things off. No, she wants her to go on this weird car ride. Hey, wait a minute. But this time there's no hit, there's no car crash. Instead, Diane has to suffer a fate worse than death, watching her friends be successful. She goes to a party at Adam's house where he and Camilla announce that they're gonna get married. Isn't it great? All you ever wanted. Just not for you. I was supposed to be a lot of things, you know. They always said I was so talented. I was gonna be the next Steven Spielberg. Yeah. Diane can't take it anymore. She hires the shittiest hitman in LA to kill Camilla. And credit where it's due, it looks like he did it. I mean, there's no telling how many other people he killed by accident along the way, but that doesn't matter. That blue key is his sign that the hit was successful.
When it's finished, you'll find this where I told you.
Now she's gotta live with that. The person she loved, the person she wanted to be, but also the person whose fucking guts she hated. How do you handle that? What's in the fucking... Oh shit, it's those dudes. Those old dudes from the very beginning. They must have been the judges of the Jitterbug contest. The thing that kills you, it's never an inanimate object, it's the people who set you on this path. People who told you things, set this dream in your head about something you were supposed to be. Who is she now? What is she now? Nothing? A murderer? Something even worse? In a panic, she does the only thing she can think of. She ends the story. She takes her own life. Diane had Camilla, and I have Steven Spielberg. When we don't know who we are, we set our sights on someone else, fixate on them with an all-consuming jealousy. Do I love Steven Spielberg? Do I hate him? Do I want to be him? Do I want him dead? Do I want to fuck his brains out? He answered all of those questions for me when I found him online. The answers were all the same. Yes, certainly. I'm still waiting. When's it gonna be my turn, Cowboy Santa Claus? I've been good. Fuck, I think I get it. The whole first 3/4 of the movie was a fantasy that Diane made up to cope with how her life was going. That might seem excessive for a movie, but that time wasn't wasted. It's central to the story. A story about Hollywood is always a story about faking it. It's a city of fakers, and the fake becomes the reality that other people try to fake in turn. Film is a simulacrum, a copy without an original. It's unreal, and yet it's some people's only context for what reality should be. It's how they decide how to look, talk, and even feel. That character you really identify with was an actor wearing makeup, or an animated image, saying lines that they didn't think and wearing expressions they didn't feel, all under a name that wasn't theirs. Tomorrow they'll be wearing a different name, recast in something else, sometimes even playing different roles in the same story. The song you heard in a musical that moved you to your core was probably ADR'd, just like Rebecca Del Rio was in Club Silencio. And I'm no different. When I was looking for what to be, I looked into a glowing blue box full of illusions, and I became an echo of an illusion. I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I didn't want to make films. I just wanted to be someone who was congratulated for making films. I wanted to be heard, but I had nothing to say. When the thing you try to be was never real to begin with, and you get your wish, what's left of you? Are you real? Hey, guess what? I'm an author now. Check out Gnome Cave wherever fine books are sold.
Soy el señor Cubo. Méteme las pelotas. Te las devolveré con mi boca. No hay tiempo.
Oh, I am very aware.
The Cinemassacre Truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
All right, you miserable fucks, strap in, because today's feature film is a meta-slasher with a heart and a machete. The Final Girls isn't your typical horror flick. It's a love letter to the golden age of slashers, especially the cheesy, blood-soaked camp horror of the 80s. So think Friday the 13th, but if the characters knew they were in Friday the 13th, yeah, it's that kind of movie. So what's the setup? A group of teens get sucked into a fictional slasher film called Camp Bloodbath, which is basically a parody of every summer camp horror movie ever made, but given a very heartfelt twist to it. Max is a grieving teenager who recently lost her mother in a car accident. Her mom, Amanda, was a former scream queen in a cult 1980s slasher film called Camp Bloodbath. Sometime later, Max is invited to a special screening of the film. But when a fire breaks out in the theater, Max and her friends escape, only to find themselves magically transported into the movie itself. Now trapped inside of the movie Camp Bloodbath, they must navigate the film's plot, survive its masked killer, and figure out how to escape using the tropes and cliches of 80s horror. The twist? Max gets a second chance to reconnect with her mother, sort of through Amanda's character Nancy, who doesn't know she's a fictional character in a movie, while everyone in the movie doesn't realize it as well. As the group tries to rewrite the rules of the slasher genre, they discover that only the final girl can defeat the killer and end the movie. The emotional stakes rise as Max steps into that role, confronting loss, identity, and the power of love.
You'll feel the power of love.
Can you feel it?
It's like Last Action Hero meets Scream. You've got all the tropes, the jock, the slut, the nerd, and the final girl, but instead of just mocking them, the movie plays with those tropes. It bends the rules, rewrites the cliches, and actually makes you care about the characters, making a wonderful satire that isn't pretending to be above it all like other meta-type movies. Visually, it's slick. There's this cool use of slow motion and surreal lighting when the characters enter the movie world. The transitions between reality and fiction are handled with style, and with some great visual gags thanks to the meta-narrative. There's a scene near the end that hits harder than you'd expect from a movie like this.
I don't want to lose you again. Max. I'm not lost. I'm right here, right? You'll always know where to find me, okay? But you have to let me go. You have to let me go.
It's got heart, man. You feel the loss, the nostalgia, and the bond between mother and daughter. That's what elevates The Final Girls from parody to full-on tribute. Is it perfect? Nah. Some of the humor misses, and the PG-13 rating kind of holds it back. But as a genre-bending experiment, it works. It's clever, it's stylish, and it's got soul. So if you're a real horror fan who understands typical story structure, The Final Girls is worth your time. As long as that time is before 5:40. Ha! Am I right, guys? Am I right?
Where did everyone go? Hello? Am I dead?
Oh, I am very aware.
Well, that's it. That's everything. That's all of the reviews. Thanks for joining me for another year of some asshole-ish monster madness fun. I hope to see you all next year for more. Yeah. And hopefully we get more people to participate. Help me research for the reviews. Yeah. See you next year.
The Cinemassacre Truth has got its own monster madness, and this variety is made especially for asses. But whose reviews are better? Well, you might be surprised, cause ours are actually funny and they ain't plagiarized. So order up some McDonald's, bundle up tight. We're stabbing the garbage out of Saturday night.
Doom is a science fiction action film from 2005, based upon the legendary series of first-person shooter games. Just when you thought I was done talking about imps, I am now bringing up a movie featuring several of them. The original games had an interesting juxtaposition between science fiction and the supernatural, along with some awesome over-the-top violence inspired by 80s horror flicks such as Evil Dead 2.
Swallow this.
Making a movie built upon these elements had potential to be something truly special. When this film hit the silver screen, it was widely seen as just another pitiful bastardization of a great gaming franchise. It has now been 20 years since this film first released, and given that Doom is one of my all-time favorite video games, it's definitely long overdue for me to put my masterful film curating skills to work on it. The only time I ever talked about Doom was for Screw Attack's Movie Quote of the Week, and this was my pick.
I gotta take a dump.
Alright, demons getting their heads blown off and some guy who has to take a dump. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Yep, I might be getting ahead of myself here, but I still say that this is the best line in the entire film. Anyway, let's take another shot at this adaptation and see if it's still deserving of the bad reputation it received all those years ago. As far as the plot goes, it's very loosely based upon Doom 3, which makes sense as it was the most recent entry at the time and also had a larger focus on story than the previous games.
The devil is real. I know. I built his cave.
It begins with a UAC research facility on Mars. Things have suddenly gone to shit as the scientists are being attacked by an unknown enemy. Back on Earth, a Marine nicknamed Sarge, played by The Rock, receives the order to send in his squad to neutralize the threat. Most of the characters here are pretty one-dimensional. You have the kid with a drug habit, a religious fanatic who cuts himself, a womanizing pervert, and the obligatory stoic badass named John Grimm, played by Carl Urban. Then there's Portman, who is of course responsible for saying,
I gotta take a dump.
And not to mention,
we're under a level 5 quarantine. So I am just gonna have to strip search you girls.
He's probably the most entertaining one, just for being an all-around crass, degenerate creep. Kinda like Mike Matei. After arriving on Mars through some kind of weird liquid teleporter, the Marines meet up with John's sister, Samantha, another scientist who has been tasked with accompanying them to recover research data for the UAC. They spin out through the quarantine labs and quickly realize that something very strange is going on. The survivors are varying degrees of insane, and they also find monsters lurking around which steadily pick them off one by one. These scenes are probably the least interesting parts of the movie because they're so slow-paced. I know they're trying to build up suspense, but the horror aspect here falls flat as the payoff is usually nothing more than cheap jump scares with lab animals and other kinds of fake-outs.
Hey, I'm Justin.
However, when the monsters do show up, it's fucking great. They really do look like something straight from hell. What helps sell their appearance are the awesome practical effects, courtesy of Stan Winston and his team. For the demons, they used custom creature suits for Brian Steele and Doug Jones, actors who often play movie monsters such as Samael in Hellboy or the Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth. It's interesting to note that the Doom games were heavily influenced by Aliens, which was also worked on by Stan Winston. In fact, this movie plays out a lot like Aliens. Both have a platoon of Marines being sent in to eliminate inhuman threats from the company's space colony. There's even a couple scenes that are almost identical.
I guess you can say that the Alien and Doom connection had become full circle thanks to this film. Eventually, the group learns that the UAC has been conducting secret experimentation by injecting test subjects with a 24th chromosome from ancient Martian DNA. This 24th chromosome, or C24 as they call it, apparently has the ability to turn evil and imperfect people into contagious monsters and good people into superhumans. What? What kind of B-movie bullshit is this? You know what? Let's stop the review for a second. I gotta make a quick phone call. Hey John, can getting injected with the 24th chromosome give you superpowers depending upon your morality?
I don't know, man. I'm not a scientist.
Fuck you.
Hello? Wow. What an asshole.
You may be wondering, what does this have to do with hell and demon invasions? The answer to that is absolutely fucking nothing. They do make several references to hell and Christianity throughout the film, but it's ultimately just a flimsy, half-hearted attempt to connect it to Doom's original premise. At the very least, the BFG does make an appearance, however, it's officially called the Bioforce gun. What the fuck does that even mean? To me, that would imply it is powered by a biological process and weaponizes it, but nothing about the Bioforce gun even suggests that. It seems the people making this movie found the game's concepts either too sacrilegious or far-fetched to put in the theaters, so what we get is essentially a poor man's version of Aliens, with zombies and a few demonic-looking creatures thrown in. Oh, so the idea of ancient Martian DNA that's miraculously intact after millions of years is somehow more plausible? The situation takes an absolute turn for the worse as one of the demons ends up traveling through the same teleporter from earlier, causing an outbreak back on the UAC's base in Nevada. The Marines follow in pursuit with the new task of containing the demons before they escape and infect the rest of the world. Something I do like about Doom is Sarge. At the start, he's shown as a sensible but firm leader for the Marines. Throughout the film, you gradually realize how utterly unhinged he is and is willing to do whatever it takes to finish the mission. It reaches a boiling point when he guns down the kid for refusing to kill a group of uninfected survivors.
Go to hell.
Holy shit!
The Rock is surprisingly convincing as a villain, and it's kind of a shame that he later on typecasted himself as a generic action hero. Man, I sure know how it's like playing the same role repeatedly until everyone is sick of it. A huge horde of zombies attack, which results in John and Sam being the last members of the group standing. Unfortunately, a ricochet bullet mortally wounded John during the chaos, so in desperation, Sam injects him with a vial of C24 to heal his injuries. When John comes to, it initiates this first-person mode where he goes on a rampage against the demons to save his sister. This first-person shooter sequence is considered to be the most memorable thing from this movie, and for good reason. It's a 4-minute long take of non-stop action while also finally feeling like the game it's supposed to be based on. One gripe I have with this scene is that it does kind of come out of nowhere, almost as if they threw it in at the last second to remind people that this is supposed to be a Doom movie. Wouldn't it be cool if there were more scenes shot like this? Another problem is how the filmmakers created this scene. In one of the bonus features for the DVD, they admit to using whip pans to cover up cuts and make the scene appear as if it were a seamless long take. I used the same trick in my own film, The Night Prowler, to make it look like that the main character was everywhere at once. However, this was before the Doom movie, which can only mean one thing: my movie was plagiarized. Anyway, John manages to find Sam, but he also runs into Sarge, who is now in the process of turning into a demon himself. Still enraged over Sarge murdering the kid, John challenges them to a fight that showcases their newfound abilities. Honestly, this part actually has some decent suspense, and good fight choreography fitting for a climactic final battle. Whenever Doom plays into the action aspect of the games, it pays off and is pretty well executed. If they spent less time on haunted house scares and more time on completely massacring demons, then Doom probably would have been a more enjoyable experience. Just when Sarge is about to get the upper hand, John activates the teleporter to pull him away, and finishes them off with a grenade. With every demon killed, the film ends with John cradling Sam as they take an elevator back to the surface. Ultimately, Doom is really just kind of average. It's undebatably a bad adaptation of the games, but as its own thing, it's a perfectly watchable Hollywood blockbuster. It suffers from uninteresting rehashing of sci-fi tropes, mostly one-note characters, and loose connections to the Doom franchise. On the flip side, the monster effects are fantastic, the action is consistently entertaining, and the music is fucking kick-ass. If you ever do end up in hell, I can confidently say that you won't find the Doom movie there. Mainly because I have exclusive rights to play marathons of the AVGN movie for eternity.
Oh, I am very aware.